Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of Iblis Manifestations Podcast. I'm honored to be once again joined by my very good friend Kyle Rasmussen of the US death metal band Vitriol. Now, you can probably expect that this is going to be an extra special episode if you happen to have heard my last conversation with Kyle on this podcast, but I can definitely tell you that this was a very fun conversation, but also very deep, very thought-provoking, and we got to talk about various different aspects of life, and of course the new Vitriol music and various different things, and we may or may not have even uncovered some truths about Kyle's background and lineage, which may have related to the Blair Witch trials. Who knows? If you stick around and listen to this conversation, you will soon find out. And yeah. If you are, of course, new to the Iblis Manifestations podcast, first of all, welcome. We have deep, thought-provoking conversations and cover nuanced topics with very unique and special artists and personalities, particularly from within the underground extreme metal scene. And this is what we do best. And Kyle is really a fantastic addition to have back on the podcast again. No doubt one of my favorite guests to speak to, and yeah, if you haven't checked out the new Vitriol record, Suffer and Become, you absolutely have to redeem yourself and go give this album a spin. And be sure to support the band as best as you can. Truly one of the best up-and-coming death metal bands, if you can even call them that, out of the United States or perhaps across the world at the moment. And they've got a lot of stuff going on. And of course, soon you will hear myself and Kyle talk about that. So be sure to give them your best support. And one more thing that I would also like to add to this conversation is that my band Trivax, which are currently based in the UK, we recently released our album titled Illawa Burns Out. And this record came out via Cult Never Dies, and so far the reception has been great. But if you are new to this podcast, or if you are new to what Trivax does, then I would, of course, very much appreciate it if you were to spare some time to listen to the album as well. We will soon be going on the road with the New Zealand doom cult war machine, Diocletian, and we're going to be going all over the UK. We're going to be hitting Newcastle, Glasgow, Manchester, London, Bristol, and Birmingham, the home of metal, our old hometown, actually. So that's going to be very exciting. So any of you who are based in the UK watching this, I know there's quite a few of you, that's going to be very exciting. We're looking forward to hitting the road soon. And I should also now add that I will be appearing at Inferno Metal Festival this year, and Iblis Manifestations may or may not be involved with the festival in some ways, shape or form, but more on that later. One more thing before we go into the episode, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you've been feeling like you need some kind of a change in your life, you need some kind of a guidance to make better decisions for as far as workouts are concerned, nutrition, and want to make general better lifestyle choices and make progress, and you don't really know where to go, or you just need a little bit of extra guidance, then I'm your man. I am currently now a fitness coach at Trial by Fire, and you can hit me up through the link and then we can get talking. I had my own personal transformation, which I've been very vocal about on this podcast, and I think most people are aware of it by this point, but just in case, if you are new to this, then you can go and check that out, and you can see some of the progress that I had, and currently I am helping other clients reach the same transformation that I did, and really I have to say it's one of the most fulfilling things I have ever done, and that includes this podcast or my work with Trivax. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I very much appreciate you sticking around. And once again, this episode is going to be a real blast. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Kyle Rasmussen back to Iblis Manifestations. right, Kyle, how's it going, man? What a pleasure to have you back on Iblis Manifestations. I gotta tell you, I've been really, really looking forward to this one. How have you been doing?
I've been doing really well, man. Thanks for having me back. I'm very excited to be back. That was one of my, uh, subject matter you talk about hits the closest to home for me. So I'm very excited to be featured a second time.
It's absolutely my pleasure, man. I actually revisited that episode not too long ago, just in anticipation of this one, because I don't like repeating myself too much, and not that it ever happens. I think between the two of us, we can probably talk for 12 hours straight without repeating the same word. But that was a really good episode for me, But one interesting thing about it was that when we finished it off, you kind of ended on, I thought was kind of a funny note where I said to you, so what's the plans now? And you kind of, with a bit of uncertainty, said, oh, I guess I might go get a job. And I've never heard anyone say that before.
So funny. I don't remember saying that, but yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. So how's things been since, I guess it was June last year we spoke?
Yeah, man, June. Wow. Been that long, damn. Man, a lot. Shit, man, a lot's happened. Well, I've been the job I've been doing, what you saw before we started the recording. I started dog sitting. My cat. I had a cat forever. She passed away at the end of the Morbid Angel tour. So when I got home, I have a house. I'm fortunate enough to have a house in Portland, and I have a backyard. So I just started boarding dogs and doing like daycare, seeing like 4 or 5 dogs at a time. And that's been, man, great for the mental health. I'll tell you what, I get along much better with wild animals than I do people. So other than that, the band has been, since last we spoke, huge turnaround. I mean, I don't think I had anything on the books when we spoke as far as touring and whatnot. And since we've announced we're doing that Chaos and Carnage tour with Cattle Decapitation and the band Carnifex and the Zenith Passage, Humanity's Last Breath. It's more of like it's definitely more, we'll be targeting like a younger crowd than Vitriol has had the opportunity to play for. It's not really our scene necessarily, but I'm excited for the opportunity to introduce our sound to like a whole new demographic. But what's exciting about that is right after that, we get to do we're going to be doing our first headliner, our first US headliner.
Right on.
Which is really exciting for me because that's always been the goal of Vitriol, is to get it to the point where I can start bringing bands out that I'm passionate about, putting them on, maybe like Trivax one of these days.
Aha! Yes, of course. It would be a pleasure.
Do you guys ever, is it possible for you guys to come to the States?
It should be soon, is what I'm going to say. I would say perhaps maybe within the next year or so, when all of us have eventually dropped our terrorist passports. Yes, it should be fine for us to come over. Yeah.
Well, let me know, man. That'd be awesome.
Well, listen, man, getting to see Vitriol for free every night would be the fucking, that would be the dream, and also a kick up the ass. I mean, listen, man, when I was listening to the album, you were kind enough to send it to me after our conversation. So it's been very difficult, by the way, keeping quiet about it since then. But just the whole time I've been listening to it, man, it's like your first album, it very much felt like it was, everything prior to it was building up to it, like there was a lot of songs that came before that ended up kind of getting featured on the album, and then it was sort of this culmination point of the band, which is always hard to imagine how something could come after it. But my God, you guys completely blew this one out of the water. I remember listening to Shame and Its Afterbirth the first time, and I was listening to it, and then that, obviously, the infamous sweep picking part came up, and I was like, how dare you? How dare you shred like that? It's not cool. And then you dare even go a higher register after a
Yeah.
while, you know, and then the consistency of it. And I'm like, this is just completely outrageous, and loved it, man, you know. And you know what? It's awesome to see the reaction it's been getting as well. It is really, really cool.
Me too. It's a big relief, man. I mean, that song has been a pet project. That little solo, that my Mariah Carey solo, you know,
Yeah,
that's been, man, I've been workshopping that thing for years. I mean, I've had that melody. Yeah, I knew that song was going to be a curveball for Vitriol fans. It's definitely the most melodic thing we've ever done, but it's also, in a way, some of the most brutal shit we've ever done. It's the highest BPM out of any song we've ever done. So it's yeah, man. I think that song has been being pieced together for like 4 years. So I'm very excited that it's seen the light of day.
It's very interesting because I noticed that obviously the intro is just such a cool piece. You know, it has this very sadistic, eerie, and creepy vibe to it. And then even throughout the song, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the only song of yours I've heard where I could noticeably hear that there are some keyboard layers beneath it. Is that right?
Yeah, well, there's post-production elements through much of the album, but this song has some of the more, I guess, traditional like choral elements, like there's a lot of voices in the lead section, and in the chorus there's some sound beds under there. I wanted to lean into that more on this album. I mean, I definitely think spiritually, like philosophically, this album leans much more into the black metal aspects of Vitriol, and I wanted certain sonic elements to reflect that as well.
And I mean, that's not really far away for Vitriol anyway. You know, I think that the music might be easier identified as death metal, or perhaps maybe even the demographic of the fan base. But I think you're one of them bands, as I've said to you before, the emotional content which defines what you do, I think very much puts you in a black metal category anyway, you know, because it's kind of like black metal is a hard thing to sonically define. It's one of them things. It's more about the intent, perhaps, you know, like some people might say Danzig is a black metal band, you know what I mean? And I think that kind of maybe rolls in with what you guys do, perhaps a little bit more appropriately.
Absolutely, man. That's so cool. I mean, for me, that's why I've always been so steadfast in the direction with Vitriol. I mean, I remember one of my earliest introductions to the philosophy of black metal. I was watching something with Gall, and he was saying how little black metal has to do with the music. And that was really that made me ask a question. It was kind of like pulling at a thread. Like, well, what do you mean it's not about the music? You know, I didn't really understand what that meant. And as I peeled back the layers, what revealed itself wasn't that it's not about the music. It's that the music is always in service of something greater.
Absolutely.
And for me, in the same way, Vitriol is my philosophical approach to Vitriol shares that sentiment, where it's not the black metal element of my band is not dependent on the sonic landscape of the band. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like, because I'm trying to speak the soul of black metal that in the way that I understand it. I'm not just trying to recreate the oral elements of black metal bands that I understand. Like, I'm from the Pacific Northwest. I'm from an inner city. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a more physical, kind of more urban element to Vitriol's music. There's even some hardcore elements in there, because that's honest. That's what's honest for me. Because I grew up going to hardcore shows and stuff, but I was the weird, nerdy metal kid at the hardcore shows, you know? So it's all, so I'm getting totally off track here.
It's interesting because to me, I think it's sort of like, it's the, like you said, it's not just all of that, but it's also the lyrical content. You know, I mean, that's what makes what you guys do very special, is just how genuine it is. It's not like, hey, we are Vitriol, let's play a music style of this genre and sell to this audience. It's not that at all. It's essentially, it's an art piece. Now, to see it become as big as it has become, where you're now finally doing your own headline shows and whatnot, which is fucking amazing, by the way. Congratulations on that.
Sure.
I think, yeah, I think it's the, like you said, it's the philosophical aspect of it, and the sort of like almost the inverse poetry of it all sometimes. You know, I mean, even on songs like Weaponized Loss, where you've got the one line, you know, survival consumes creation in the quiet of God's sleep. Like, fucking hell, man, you know, that's really going for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's like, that's the black metal spirit, you know, at least as far as I know it anyway.
Thank you very much. I mean, that's why I put so much effort into it. Is it's the lyrics are always the most important part for me, which might surprise people because the music sounds so effortful, but that's the thing, you know. It's like when you build a cathedral, when you're trying to build a cathedral, it doesn't look like a fucking barn. You know, you're trying to express your devotion to this symbol of worship that reflects the love and the extent of service that you're willing to devote to it. So for me, the willingness to have that completionist, perfectionist, tedious approach is devotional. To me, that's worship. You know, like, to me, it would be shortchanging every detail I'm willing to optimize tells the listener that there's that much more love in the thing. And that helps me believe an artist. If they care that much, well, fuck, why are they trying? You know, some people, oh, you're trying too hard. Cool. You know, you want to live a life avoiding things that are effortful. God bless. Vitriol is not for you. You know, like, but
because it's an effort to also listen to the band, I'm sure, just as much as it is to play it. Well, obviously playing it is next level, but listening to the band and really understanding the riffs is that degree of, to me, if it kind of creates parallel to kind of what it was a bit like hearing Deathspell Omega Paracletus for the first time, you know, and then being like, oh shit, what the fuck is this, you know, and then trying to make sense of the notes, and then re-listening to the song so many times where you eventually remember the structure. Kind of feel similarly with Vitriol as well, and that's not to say that it's technical for the sake of the technical, but it's like a cathedral. You gotta take so many rounds, and every time you take a round, you notice something different in the sculpture. And I think it's kind of a little bit more like that.
The devil's in the details. You know, and we want to give plenty of places for him to live in our music. So, yeah, it should be something that is labyrinthine. You know what I mean? Like it yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. It's a trip. It's a trip is what it is. One thing that fascinates me, you know, and I would love to kind of dig into your mind a little bit on this, because it's something that I've dealt with personally, and I'm pretty sure that most extreme metal musicians that really take their craft seriously kind of go through, you know, those who really push things to a limit, they push themselves to a limit, especially as far as the aggression side of things are concerned. The thing with Vitriol is that obviously I understand that a lot of it comes from a personal place, And that means that, the personal space is not always going to be one static line, because as you go through changes in life, that kind of creates inspirations. And then those inspirations, a lot of times, bleed into the music. It could be even just simply one conversation that you have that could have an effect on how you're going to write music, because that's what being an artist is really just processing life through notes or artwork and things like that, as you're like a processor, really. So what interests me is, how do you deal with the process of, and I don't know if this is the correct way of coming at the question, but how do you deal with the process of not faking the aggression that you gotta do? Like, do you ever find yourself thinking that, okay, this is Vitriol, we're super aggressive music, there's all the videos of you doing the playthroughs online, and most people, not just by your playing, but they're just fascinated by how you look and act when you're performing, which is this genuine channeling. But do you ever feel concerned, like, oh, I don't want to fake that, I never want that to be disingenuous or synthetic, just because that's what people know of us? Do you ever go through that kind of thought process?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a part of me that, there's a part of me that worries that if the day came that was no longer genuine, that would be detrimental for the band. But there's a selfish way in which I would kind of look forward to the time where that's not honest for me all the time. Like, because
Right.
I totally get it. People don't have who don't experience genuine rage, and there are people that don't. I mean, we kind of talked about this before, about how different our experiences are as individuals. And there's some people that really just don't have a relationship with their anger, or don't experience potent anger, or so I can understand if you're not initiated into that emotional state of mind. It's hard for you to looking from the outside in. I imagine it can be hard to believe. That's also why I've felt so much more camaraderie in the black metal scene, because they,
Right.
They get it. But I think by the virtue of Vitriol being technical, we got attention from people that are just into like the musical elements of metal, and they when they encountered the, oh my God, what are they so angry about? It's like, well, read the lyrics and, a couple, I don't know, interviews, maybe you find out. But
I mean, it's a
no,
good question. It's a good question. What are you angry about?
no, it's
What's the problem?
great. Yeah, I love it. Ask that question. If you ask it sincerely, you might find some interesting answers for yourself, that you might find interesting. But no, I'm never. My commitment to authenticity is why my music is so aggressive. That's just where I'm at most of the time.
I'm
But
sorry to hear that, man.
yeah. No, me too. And there is a real concern, to be totally transparent with you. There is a concern about like a vicious cycle, but part of my project with Vitriol is learning, and in turn with myself, is learning how to live well in the darkness, so to speak. And the first album, I felt like I didn't create the best place to have to occupy authentically all the time.
Right.
So with this album, I was more conscientious of creating a space that, when I am channeling those things authentically, hopefully they're cultivating me, not just depleting me, So no, I'm not. I do sometimes worry about the long-term effects of being that angry all the time and letting myself go there. But there's no faking. It's not an option. Yeah, I'd either just I would just do something else develop a new sound. I don't know. You know,
It's very well said, man. Very well said. And what you're saying, God, I wish I could show you how much I am relating to what you're saying about with the newer stuff. You purposely created something that you somehow knew would accommodate those emotions much better. I mean, I don't know. Have you played any of the new stuff live yet?
no, not yet.
Are you
I'm
looking
really
forward
excited.
to it?
Yeah. I'm really
Right.
excited. Yeah.
I
There's a
mean,
way in
that's
which I
the
don't get to know the songs until I play them live, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Because a song always feels like there's got different characteristics. You know, there's one where you kind of write it when you're on your own. Well, there's even a step before that when it's just in your fucking head, you know, and then no one else is hearing it. Then you have to create the compromise between, reality and creativity, and then actually find notes for those ideas. Which you guys do a great job of doing, considering the absurdity of some of the stuff that you go for. But then at the same time, as soon as you play that with someone else and then with the rest of the band, then it's a completely different characteristic. Then when you record it, it's a different characteristic. And then when you play it live, then it's still a different thing. But then that's like it's like a full version of it. You know, it's almost like going through the construction of a building. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I like to use the cathedral metaphor all the time, because
Sure.
that's what I liken it to. You know, those, to me, I've always equated effort with quality, you know,
Mhm.
and I feel like I just can't justify walking away from it until I have nothing left to put in.
One thing that just going back to what we were saying about the authenticity of the emotions, and not faking the anger, which is allegedly it seems at least that there's a lot of that to go through. Obviously, it's evident in the music anyway, but I think that one thing that I find interesting with a lot of bands, and perhaps this explains why a lot of people sort of calm down as their career sort of goes along, and this is like a general thing. Part of it is for some people is maturity. Sometimes it's just the fact that it's a matter of perspective. So what was causing the rage was a matter of perspective, sometimes limited perspective, but then also having a whole perspective is that could have its own implications as well. Now, without being too vague, the point I'm trying to get to is, let's say, you're doing what you're doing, and you would be doing what you're doing even if there wasn't, whether there was an audience or not. But when you put in that much rage into your work, and then people come up to you, and then instead they just give you love and kindness, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." Do you ever kind of feel like, should I still be angry, kind of thing? Like, do you ever kind of feel that sort of drift between the
No,
two?
not at all, man. I mean, I think not at all. I think anger is such a, I mean, I've kind of devoted my life to championing the value of anger. Um, it's such an important emotion to be in touch
Mm-hmm.
with. It's so life affirming in the right situation. And if you've run out of stuff to be angry with, you've stopped looking, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not,
Right.
I'm not faulting anyone for choosing that tranquility. You know what I mean? But I do think it's a choice. Everyone's like, it's a lens. Yeah, everything's a lens. Yeah, the glass is half full and it's half empty. But sometimes there's value in seeing it half empty. And it's a tough gig, because everyone wants to save themselves from that internal discomfort. But like that's what a lot of the new album's about too. Like there's a line, uh empty is the mouth. Oh God, what is it? Empty is the mouth that carries no war. Let the breath be pulled from mine before it tastes a sou for peace. So it's this,
Nice.
like, it's like uh, you make a choice to live a life of confrontation, confronting difficult things. And of course, you should become the master of your emotions. But having access to that disdain for things that, if you have nothing in your, if you have no enemies in your life, good for you. But some people do, and those people need anger. And I think when that's it, the love that I feel from people on the road makes me more dedicated to that anger. Kind of just the opposite, because I feel like I'm giving them, in a way, they see their rage being voiced through the band. And if I can give them a voice for that rage, like kind of a black mirror in a healthy way, in a world of in a world that does everything in its power to shield you from your own darkness, I would like to reveal it to you and like hold you there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to take you out of there. I'm trying to say, like, this is, you're full of rotten fruit. You're a cretin. You're despicable. Let it go. But I love you, you know, like, and that's the first step. Opening yourself up to that vulnerable self-loathing that lets you die that death and become something greater. Like, that's the gateway to being the better thing, is a willingness to find yourself contemptible without breaking, you know, like that's such an important mechanism and like spiritual evolution. And we live in a world that wants to rob people from access to that like healthy self-loathing. You know, there are good ways to dislike parts of yourself. There are really bad ways to dislike parts of yourself. It's, you know, it's all in how you do it. But sorry, another crazy long answer.
I fucking love it, man. Hell yeah. I think that it's, at the end of the day, it's about the process of healing, which is not supposed to be a pleasant thing whatsoever. You know, it's the saying, you know, that the seeds of life must be planted in darkness. And I would go as far as agreeing with you that, yeah, there's definitely a consolidated effort by at least the materialistic overarching world around us, that you're not supposed to dig deep in those places. You know, there's a reason why psychedelics are illegal, if you ask me. And yeah,
if you let yourself be sad, you know what follows that? You realize you don't need their shit anymore. You know, If you let yourself be fucking sad and you have that conversation with yourself, you sit with that suffering until it releases you. And ultimately, it's the wisdom that suffering yields that releases you. Then you realize, I mean, it's not like all your problems go away. You know, you have to figure out a whole new why. You know, when your materialistic worldview dies and you're like, oh my God, none of this is going to make anything better for me. All of, you know, like, that's a pretty horrifying place to be too, because you have to construct a whole new worldview, whole new values. But yeah, life is hard. Like, get over it. Like, that's what it is. You know, you're either living someone else's dream or you're living your own, you know? And
absolutely.
we figured out a way to convince a world that life is about ceaseless, superficial joy until you die. And then we created a way to market that to people. And we've been here for a long time now.
So. Well, long time, but also not very long at all at the same time. And it feels like it's moved somehow in the wrong direction. Some aspect of hamartia that you can apply to just the general direction of humanity, which we can get into that. But just on the on the more emotional side of things, that's very true, but it's exactly that. When you allow yourself to feel, then you go places, you realize things, it's the reality check that it's gonna suck, but it's the best thing for you, like for me. um what's worse than feeling sad, what's worse than feeling angry, what's worse than feeling anxiety and all these things is not feeling anything at all, is numbness. That's
Mhm.
the most terrifying thing ever, which in today's world it's easy to get to, and earlier when I was talking about that, making sure that the rage is not artificial, it's more numbness that I was alluding to, because that's the fucking worst thing of them all. Because for me, there are things that of course make me sad, like I'll be surrounded by my pets and I absolutely love them, but I'm like, you're gonna die one day.
Yeah.
And then being surrounded by, I don't know, even whether it's like partners, bandmates, family member, it's like, oh yeah, you're all gonna go sometime, and it's either gonna be before me or after me, but nevertheless, that realization is something that creates sadness, or for me, I haven't seen my home country for close to 10 years now. I haven't physically stepped foot at on the dirt of the place I was born and raised in, and most of my ancestors have spent their time, and that's something that creates sadness. But at the same time, whenever I feel that sadness, I'm like, good, fuck
Yeah.
yeah,
Hell
you
yeah.
know, because
Beautiful.
it makes you feel alive. You know you're
Yeah.
there. You know that at least something matters.
That's love talking to you. That pain is love,
Yeah.
And I'm yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you if you had more to tell.
No, no, not at all. Please carry on. Whatever you got to say.
Um, yeah, that's why I'm so grateful. Like my journey in life, I was introduced to death very early. I had um, a lot of deaths in the family growing up. Lot of lot of dead animals, and so I have a really good relationship with death these days. Sometimes I'm worried too good of a relationship with death these days. Uh, but I feel it doesn't make me, what I'm happy to discover is it doesn't make me feel less when I lose someone I care about.
Mm.
But it transmuted that pain into joy in a way. I remember my cat that I was just talking about, that I've had
Rest
for
in
six
peace.
years. Thank you. Cricket. She was my ride or die.
Oh,
Uh, and every time I went on tour, her health would take a hit because she'd miss her dad, and I'd come back, and she'd
oh
perk
man.
back up, and I was feeling real guilty about that. And I was on my way home from the Morbid Angel tour, and 20 hours before I got home, I got the call that she died. Um, and I was just inconsolable. But even then, I just knew there was a kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's a way that that sorrow is a way of communicating to yourself the value of that
Mm.
person in your life. And yes, a
Yeah.
person.
It is a person. I know that.
You
Yes.
know, way more human than some humans I know. So, uh,
Mm.
yeah, man. I mean, that's pain. I mean, that's all part of this art too, is, finding the beauty in those things and seeing the beauty in the winter and the value in the winter.
Mm.
And, um, and it really enriches all aspects of your life if you can lean into that philosophy.
Well, I think it's the most. By the way, that's absolutely beautiful what you just said there, man. It's very touching. But to me, I think that the value of that, let's say, quote unquote, darkness, if you will, or just the general hardships, it's just accepting and embracing the suck of it all. To me, is that's the thing that when you have discipline, is when you can manage that the best. So that's why, to me, waking up in the morning, I don't particularly love the fact that I get into an ice bath for 5-10 minutes, and because it fucking sucks. But to me, it's a beautiful meditation of just going into that, just tapping a little bit into the shadow side, just a little bit of, just feeling like, at least, oh, you could be in danger for a moment. And that I thrive on it. Like it calms me down. And when I come out of it, I'm like, you know what? Everything is fine. It's good. It's all a matter of perspective, because we always worry about these things. We've got all these attachments, and so much of what we are attached to is just mere illusions, right? It's the things that are not permanent in any way. They're just like temporary beings. Like, for example, whether it's like the mortgage or the rent or the career or whatever. Listen, there's value and weight to all of those things as well. But at the end of the day, none of that is valued more than our lives and our love that we feel, and the connections that we have with each other.
Yeah. You either become, you get to an age or a position of life experience that you have a choice. You either go all in on the script, the social narrative of the rat race or whatever, or you pick a path beyond that, and
violently awake.
Yeah, exactly. And I think once you do, I think this is a big part of the political tension, is like a lot of, once you start thinking about things, once you start concerning yourself with like a different plane of what's a good way of saying it? I guess once you abandon more material concerns, the world transforms around you, and there are new problems or different problems. It's as if we're not even existing on the same kind of
reality,
out of phase, is a good way to put it, out of phase with one another. And I think like some of our core guiding values, even if they're pretty similar, if you input those values in different dimensions, so to speak, with different rules and a different set of standards and a different whatever, it's just going to result in a different position, I don't even know what I'm getting at.
And at the end of the day, a lot of people are really just, they're slaves to the carrot and the stick, which is positioned there. And it's one of them things, if you're born into it, it's the Matrix. It literally is the Matrix, and that's all you see. That's all you chase, and there's no real values or anything like that, because values and traditions are important as far as I am concerned. But you live in a world where all of that is made sort of, like it's non-existent. It's like, oh, you can do whatever, you can believe in whatever, and then there's this idea that if you it's the idea that if everything is acceptable to you, then you don't stand for anything. And and I think that obviously goes in line with what you were saying earlier, but you realize how the world is set up, and the fact that there is real, genuine evil in the world, that whilst people are sat at home watching TV with their family and ordering takeaways, there are some fucking rich guys somewhere going on Epstein Island, and you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, and that's why black metal is important.
Sure.
Going back to the previous answer, one of the previous answers about me saying how there's if you have nothing to hate, then you stop looking, and that's if people want to abandon that. to go live a easier life and look at the bright side of things, great. But the world needs people that are gonna look for the Epsteins and have a dark enough imagination to believe that something like that could happen. Because before the lid got blown off of that thing, do you know how many people like wouldn't even believe something on that scale? Like they wouldn't believe it. Most people refuse to believe that they live in a world that dark. They just don't. They don't want to.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt your flow there, but if I remember correctly, I think the earliest people maybe heard about it was like around early 2000s when maybe Alex Jones was talking about it, and everyone's like, oh, he's a kooky conspiracy theorist. Look, well, that turned out to be true, and no one believed it at that time. No one believed it for at least like 10-15 years afterwards.
Yeah. There's a same thing with Weinstein. I mean, you can look at YouTube compilations of just primetime TV sitcoms making jokes about him being a sexual predator. Like, it's just like a known cheeky thing that like people in Hollywood just like made jokes about. There's like 3 jokes about him being a sexual predator on that show 30 Rock. And that was before the Me Too thing happened. So, you need to have people who are in touch with their darkness without being ruled by it. Because if you don't have people that are in touch with their darkness, you have no way of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of the it's kind of like the argument against gun control, but like on a spiritual level. Like, I'd rather have a good guy with a gun in the room, like if you're going to have dudes, if the darkness is going to be there, right? It's going to be there. You should have people that have the stomach and the fortitude to share that space without being destroyed by it. So we don't go blind to what's going on.
This is really... Yeah, no, please carry on.
And just a little bow on it, just and beyond being in touch with it to anticipate the degenerate behavior of other people. There's also really important stuff to discover about yourself there, and a lot of humility to find about yourself there, because I promise you are much worse than you think you are. We all are. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of our original sin, in my opinion. Our true original sin is the hubris, is the ego, the arrogance of man. It's like a lifelong process of just dismantling your delusional self-aggrandizement.
Yeah. That's a very deep rabbit hole you could get into. But just as far as that side of thing is concerned, you made a really interesting analogy on the gun control thing, because I feel that too, And the thing is as well, unfortunately, that's one of them topics that obviously you were using it as a metaphor, but it's important to bring that up in this topic because a lot of people are so attached to their teams, because it's teams really, it's divide and conquer first and foremost, but then at the end of the day, now I don't know if you want to call that, I don't know, black pilled or whatever, I don't care, but a lot of times people are so attached to their teams and they're like, oh, so you're with them, you believe that, oh, so you're gonna be with them, oh, so you're the enemy, you're immediately dehumanized, and then vice versa, it's like, oh, so you're one of us, okay, cool, let's fight against them. And to me, just as far as that particular topic is concerned, by the way, and this is coming from a non-American, it's coming from a non-American, born in the Middle East, currently living in the UK. I think that the idea is fantastic because it's not designed for you to just go around shooting people. It's designed for you to be able to defend yourself against tyranny, because that's the idea, right? It's to defend yourself against your own government. And think of how much the U.S. government would have gotten away with until now if the Second Amendment wasn't a thing. And then also, guns kind of suck. It would be cool if they didn't exist, period, right? That would be the
I'd
best
rather
way
go
for
back
it,
to
right?
swords. Yeah, yeah. Guns are for cowards.
Exactly. But then at the same time, they do exist, so you should probably have access to them, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a super complicated issue. I really feel you on the teams thing. You know, I think with Vitriol's focus on strong stance on things like personal responsibility and life being disinterested in our well-being. I think there's a lot of values of Vitriol that crosses over into the more of a conservative fan base. But so because of that, you should have seen the shitstorm I got when I posted about having COVID and having the vaccine. And that was like, man, I really realized how politicized the
Right.
metal sphere was at that time.
Hmm.
I try to be nuanced with everything. You know, I try to be nuanced. But like for me, without getting into the vaccine thing, well, I'll touch on it. I'm not afraid of it. You know, I'm immunocompromised. I have Crohn's disease, so I'm on
Oh,
uh, I'm on autoimmune medication, which reduces my capacity to fight off infection.
hmm.
So I got the vaccine. I was going on tour, and also it was the only way I was able to go on tour, and I wasn't going to stop doing that. Now knowing looking back on the situation, I can say honestly, I wouldn't do it again.
Right. Okay.
I I I am not ashamed to admit that I went. Yeah, I was too. I wasn't critical enough of the situation. It's hard to say. You know, it's hard to say if I'd be willing to sacrifice the touring opportunities. That's a big thing, saying like, yeah, but that's your
Hmm.
fucking body and da 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 da. But you should see what I've done to my body to play music. uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, the gun thing,
I don't
man.
want to I don't want to get away from that, because you're making a really interesting point there. You know, we'll come
Sure.
back to that if you like. But first of all, man, I mean, fucking good for you for having the balls to even admit something like that, because most people can't get over such a thing ever. You know,
Yeah, it's hard
they
to,
can
yeah,
never be wrong on something. You know, and that's again, it's easier said than done. You know, there's been things I'm sure in the past that I've been wrong about. You know, and it's really hard to come out and say, oh, you know what, I wouldn't do that again, especially when it's so politicized, especially when there's
yeah,
this thing in the back of your mind thinking that there's someone probably with a very emotional opinion about this somewhere, but
yeah,
then still being able to be honest. You know, that's how we progress. That's how we go places, really.
yeah. That's growth. I mean, your value should always be being correct, not right. If that makes sense. You know, it should be
Yeah,
about, you know, and a lot of people just want to be right. So,
exactly.
you know, there's a great quote. It's significantly easier to dupe someone than it is to convince them that they've been duped.
Absolutely.
Because the ego gets in the way, you know, and that ego's a bitch. That ego is not your amigo, man. Like, put that thing down, shoot it like a dog, you know, like it's just going to make you dumb, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, every opportunity I see that I made an error in judgment or thinking, I see that as an opportunity to be smarter, you know, and why wouldn't I want to take that? So,
I love hearing that, man. You know, and listen, like just in relation to that, just to be more specific, you know, like for me, I was gonna get the vaccine, and then through various different means, without going into too much detail, legally I can't speak about it. The cons made us sign contracts, but I'll tell you more about it later. But
yeah,
basically, they said, you know, like I should we say, had access to internal logs of the national vaccine line in the UK, and that is the thing that made me not want to get it.
Well,
and seeing that people are dying left and right, and then they're getting injured, and the fact that, you know, not everyone dies from it, but a lot of people get injured from it. A lot of times it's not immediately straight away. I've been looking into this page on Instagram. It's the jab injuries from Australia. It's a beautiful page. It's horrible. Like, if you want to put yourself in a shit mood, go look at that. But it's you know, not that you need to, but it's really eye opening when you see what people have been going through because of this thing that was so politicized for no fucking reason whatsoever. You know, and then the people behind it are coming out saying, yeah, maybe that science didn't completely make sense, haha. You know, and then now we're waiting for the next thing to come in anyway. But long story short, that was the reason why I didn't get it, because I realized that that was happening. But still, to this day, I try and remind myself. I'm like, Shan, just be kind to the people who got it, especially ones who, you know, people did it for work. People did it for, you know, some people did it because it was of, I don't know, travel, things like that. They urgently needed to, like, see family members, or they wanted to go see their family and they hadn't seen them for like 5, 6 years. Listen, I totally understand it. Perhaps I've less sympathy for those who've had maybe like 6 of them, but you know, which is fucking stupid. It's like, you guys, you're never gonna learn. But for for me, it's like, the way I look at it is, at the time, I almost took offense to the fact that they're saying you're gonna have to get this to be able to travel, and what I said, you know, and please, this is not making comparison with your decision, but this was just something that for me was important. I said that the whole point of Trivax and what we do is freedom. For me, the thing that mattered, why I left Iran, why I came here, why I want to play black metal, is freedom. So I personally felt like it would have been hypocritical of me to let them sell my own dream to me in exchange for my freedom. Does that make sense?
yeah. Oh,
So
100%. Yeah.
so I actually completely made peace with the fact that, you know, if we never tour or play any shows again, so be it. You know, because we know that, and I'm glad that obviously we've had the opportunity to do that since, because we've had our best shows since the whole thing happened. But
Yeah.
you know, it's a tough thing, but sometimes, you know, life just forces you to make these decisions, you know, and then sometimes you make the right ones. You never know it at the time. This is especially like this with relationships, because you never know what it's going to be like long term. That's probably one of the fucking toughest things, you know.
For
And
me,
then
it
you
was,
got,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, please carry on. I'm just saying that's probably the thing, it's one of the hardest.
Yeah. I mean, I have a couple friends, you know, maybe some mutual friends that made the same decision when that whole thing was going on and touring opportunities were arising. And I respect it completely. If it was merely a matter of being able to tour, for me, a big part of it was, there was for me really a genuine concern about my susceptibility to how hard that virus would hit me. I have a sister who's a nurse in Virginia, and she's she was in the thick of it during the whole time. And I remember being on the phone with her and hearing these people trying to breathe when I was on the phone with her, and she's like in the room. So for me, I never had the opportunity to believe that it wasn't real. You know, there are people that just straight up thought, like, you know, I don't know, I don't want to assume your position on it. It wouldn't offend me either way, whatever it is. But
oh no, it is. Sorry to interrupt you, but it is very real, because I had it at the time it came out, and it totally kicked my ass. You know, it's a different story. Yeah, I'm not a denier of it, if you will.
There are people who straight up like somehow still think it's not. I'm like, do you not have a friend of a friend of a friend who works at a hospital? Like, how do you not think, like, how do you make it this far? But yeah, it was, if it were, I'll say this, and not to just say, like, if people think that that's not a, you know, very metal choice of mine, I'm at peace with that. But even if the if there weren't touring restrictions, I would have still got the vaccine because I genuinely thought I was making the best decision for my health at the time.
Which
And
is absolutely fair enough, man. You know, you just wanted to live. Is there anything wrong with that? Fuck no. You made the rational decision based on information you knew at the time. The trouble is that information was heavily manipulated.
Yeah.
By those who were profiting from it.
Yeah. It was a case of like, it's I'll say this. This is the most humble thing I can say about it. And maybe the most like right-wingy thing I can say is it's the last time I will put blind faith in the media, and that's ultimately what it was. I mean, at the end of the day, that's where most of that information was coming from. And when it comes to the internet, I'm fortunate enough to have friends that occupy various positions on the political spectrum, and very radical ones as well. So I know how subjective information is, like if you want to believe something, you're going to find a group of people that believe in it too. You're going to find a forum, you're going to insulate yourself, and that's going to be your whole world. Like if you ask what the world looks like to one of my friends on the left versus one of my friends on the right, it's like they don't even live in the same planet, so it's hard. Finding trustworthy information is very difficult. The best that I try to do is trust my gut, to see what's around, try to observe my environment, see what's actually happening. Having a sister in the medical field played a big role in it, because they were getting fucking hit super hard down there. But yeah, I should have done more due diligence. I think I could have looked into it more.
This is why I love you, man. You're real.
Thanks.
It's one of them things, I think that the more you kind of try and be subjective about it, the better it gets. I am in the same position as you, where I've got, friends and people in different political perspectives, like you said, both in the middle, but some even kind of far out, some not even anywhere on the spectrum. There's so much outside of everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's really healthy. It's good to surround yourself with different people, because like you said, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she's vegan, which I'm like, you know what, respect you. If that's what you think you want to do, then great, go for it. Especially if you're doing it for ethical reasons, no problem. I don't think it's the healthiest choice, but if that's what you want to do, I totally respect it. I love the fact that you're actually making an effort to change your life to suit something that you think is right. I love that kind of thinking, as long as it's not preached. But the thing that I said to her, and she even agreed with me, was the fact that if you want to see an article that agrees with you, that says, yes, this is healthy, yes, this is the lifestyle, yes, you should stop eating meat, you're going to find that. And when you find that, you're going to believe in what you want to believe in. So we don't really live in a world where information is completely neutral. Because whatever it is you want to believe in, all you got to do is fucking Google that motherfucker, and then it will give you even more evidence for you to believe in whatever it is you want to believe in. Now, whether it's, I don't know, flat earth, or, however many genders there are, or what food, or anything. You can believe in literally anything, and there's so much information out there that, you could...
People believe Yahweh is the one true God. I mean, come on. Let's see.
Yeah.
You can believe anything if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. So who do you think is the one true God?
Oh, Jesus. Wow, what a question. Oh, jeez, that's so funny.
Jesus. You answered it without thinking you were going to answer it.
Yeah. Wow.
Big pause.
Jesus. Yeah, what a question. Well, I don't think there is, in the sense that I approach the metaphysical with as much humility as possible. Um, I
I like
only
that.
know I only know what I mean by that is I'm trying to navigate a goddamn. Why do you gotta ask that? Such a big question.
This is what we
uh,
do on here, man. This
yeah.
is what this podcast is all about.
So I think what I relate to most at this stage, I think I'm going through a bit of like a perennialist phase in my journey, which is finding a lot of. I think that the 30s is a common time to start putting together patterns and starting to make sense of aspects of your life that didn't always make sense or you didn't see the significance in. Um, I'm building up to something, I promise.
So how old are you now?
I'm 35.
35. Okay, cool.
Now. So I've been going through Vitriol's been a really interesting journey for me personally. Because it's always been like an engine of reaching spiritually, intellectually, even when I didn't really know that was the motive. That's what I was doing. I was trying. It was a method of self-actualizing. And for instance, I never really knew. I never really knew that my never knew what the source was for this enduring fascination with, let's just say, the devil, right? Like this idea, this concept. Just kind of took it for granted. I'm like, it's metal, it's whatever. I kind of grew up around it. I think I told you, I mentioned in our last one that my mom practiced witchcraft.
You did, yes.
Yeah, so coming up around that stuff. And I actually made, oh my God, I think this is a really cool thing to share with you.
Go ahead.
Since last we spoke, I've peeled a little bit back more at that layer. My sister did that ancestry.com thing. And she discovered it's wild shit. I don't know if you know much about like the history of American witchcraft or anything like colonial witchcraft in the United States. But there was, in the famous Salem witch trials. Have you heard of the Salem witch trials?
I have indeed, yes.
Yeah, there was 20 alleged witches burned. One of the first three was named Rebecca Nurse. One of the last ones was named Mary Nurse. Rebecca Nurse was kind of a bit one of the more important figures because she was the oldest woman. She was like 70 when they hung her, in her late 60s or something. So it was pretty controversial. Well, I discovered that Rebecca Nurse is my 9th grandmother.
Whoa.
Yeah, which is fucking pretty wild. Mary Nurse is my 9th aunt. And
something even about the name Rebecca Nurse, it just feels weird, right?
In what way?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that this, and it gets it gets weirder even. So this is on my mother's. This is on my mother's side. Okay. That the nurse is direct descendants from the nurses. On my mother's father's side, are you familiar with that movie, The Conjuring?
I am, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay. So the malevolent spirit that is responsible for the haunting in The Conjuring, her name is Bathsheba Sherman. Mm-hmm. That's my sixth grandmother. She's
what is going on, Kyle?
I don't know. She's a real person. I didn't know this. She's a real person that some aspects of the movie are incorrect. She didn't actually live in the house. She lived in an auxiliary house on the property. But she was, and this is all documented, you can look this up. She was accused of murdering children in the neighborhood, and was caught by her husband murdering their own baby in a satanic sacrifice. He said he actually heard her literally sacrificing their child to the devil, and then killed him by stabbing him in the head with a knitting needle. And why it's such a compelling story is that one of the young children that was found dead in the neighborhood had a small puncture wound in his head that was consistent with a metal knitting needle. So, and her family Bathsheba came from, when her family immigrated from Europe, they settled in a place called the Bridgewater Triangle, which is an area in the United States that's a hotbed for supernatural activity. And at the heart of the Bridgewater Triangle is a swamp. I can't remember the name of it, but they just called it the Black Swamp back then, of course. And they lived there right on that swamp, like literally like on the shore of that swamp for 8 generations before she moved to the Conjuring house and all that shit happened. And what's trippy about the nurse family on the other side is that, the popular consensus, at least here in the States, is that the Salem witch trials was the result of mass hysteria, that all of these people were just victims of a zealous, paranoid, overly religious population. But what's interesting is, based on my sister's research on Ancestry.com, there's actually documents that show that the nurse family immigrated from Europe to the States, fleeing from allegations of similarly occult activity. And there's like written accounts of them from like young girls, like describing the nurses like scrying. Like they wouldn't know what scrying was. I don't think that was like popular knowledge back then. But like when they were interviewing little neighborhood girls that would like play with the family, they would describe what they were doing. And it's like, it's hard to make that shit up. So it's interesting for me, beyond it being just like a personal like curiosity, it definitely piqued a curiosity. Like, what are the odds that my mother was a direct descendant from witches that were executed and found witchcraft on her own? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's impossible that it's coincidence, but
yeah, of course, because your mother won't have known any of this information.
Would have known. No, she didn't know. She had no fucking idea. So there's a lot of explanation. It could be a psychological disposition. Doesn't necessarily have to be mystical. Whatever. I'm not making any assumptions, but what I am saying is it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. And I've been asking more questions about that. And through that, I felt much more connected to, what's really interesting. The song, our breakout song, it was called "The Parting of a Neck." Yeah. And I come straight from a direct descendant of a woman that was hung for witchcraft. And the line is, the noose that they gave me, you can hear it unfurl. The parting of a neck is deafening. So
What
it's like,
fuck.
I don't even know why I wrote that. I have
and
no
you will
idea
have obviously written that way before you knew any of this information.
Oh, way before that. So, and all these ideas of like this animosity toward religion, this animosity toward this kind of like unexplained animosity toward Judeo-Christian religion. It's interesting. It's without getting too wooey, it kind of feels like I'm an echo of that experience. Of like, there's a line in the new album, so let vengeance boil and dispel grace's absolving mire. Like, forgiveness will not make of it a silent martyr. You know, it's just kind of like this enduring retaliation is kind of almost what it feels like, you know. Because I think you don't have to be too out in the weeds and the woo to think of those things. I mean, there's biological evidence showing that certain emotional aspects are heritable. You know what I mean? Like, we pass things on, you know, stress, that's just carried in the body. You know what I mean? Like, you know, things get experiences. I don't know. I believe that, at least.
Think of it like this, you know, I mean, first of all, this is fucking wild, you know, that is really interesting, and I thank you for sharing that with us.
You're the first person outside of my main circle that knows that about me. So.
I feel honored, man. That's really, really fascinating, and you know, it's grim, but it's kind of cool at the same time. I imagine. Yeah.
I feel very I feel reinvigorated in my purpose. It feels really real in a way that is I just feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, the way I look at it is, you know, let's break this down and try and understand it at least as best as we can. You know, one is, if you want to look at purely the physical, meaning the third dimensional aspect of it, the way I think about it is that just semen in itself is data, right? Yeah. So when you're procreating, you're copy and pasting data, and that's data that's formed within your DNA. And the thing that I always say to people is, consider the fact that you've never actually died, because you're officially semen that's carried all the way since the very beginning of life. And yes, there are many who have died before you, but they still passed you on to be where you are at now. So You've never officially experienced death. Maybe there's the ego death, whatever, but physically you've never died. Now, with that in mind, you think of the fucking trauma and the weird shit that exists in all of us, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that just because we as humans have evolved, I don't think that not only it means there's less of that, if anything, there's more of it. And that's probably why there's weird shit that we all have. You know, like, for example, one example that I make, which interestingly enough, some friends agree and then some others don't, which in itself is thought-provoking. But, like, for example, if you're in the shower and you're washing your face, you immediately want to clear your eyes out so you can open your eyes so you don't get attacked, even though you're just in the bathroom on your own, right? So it's like, you know, these things, you know, you think of like, well, which part of our brains brought this on, or thinking that there's monsters under the bed? That's probably just you years and years ago, you know, I don't know, being scared of like bears or lions and shit that could have actually attacked you and killed your whole family at that time. So now you want to bring that into this particular case. If you want to look at it purely in a physical dimension, you could, like you said, you know, it could be like maybe some kind of like a behavioral disposition or like a mental thing that made you want to go towards those other things. But also, if I may say, if you want to look at the metaphysical, which you put it very well, you said you view that in a humble sense. You could look at that as every time you procreate, you pass on a part of your soul. And then and to me, the idea that like our ancestors are always with us is a powerful and a beautiful thing, and actually something that I strongly believe in.
Oh
For
yeah.
yeah, for various reasons. I don't ever feel like we're alone, despite of where your physical location is. That's irrelevant. They're always with us in a maybe a different layer of reality that you can't just see with your naked eye. Sometimes people report seeing orbs and things like that, and who knows, maybe that's what that is. But I've had too many experiences to ignore these things. But again, that's me personally. I'm humble about it, just as you said you are. But it does make you really think, and it also makes you think that how much of the emotions that you carry with yourself on a day-to-day basis are even your own and not something
Yeah.
that's passed down.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's something that's really humbling about that experience. Um, is feeling like you are at once radically individual and just an accumulation of the efforts of your ancestors. And that puts a big responsibility on you to keep going. Um, and it helps to let go, going back to letting go of the materialistic worldview. Once you abandon the idea that life is about accessing consistent joy, that liberates you to 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 set higher values, and you can give yourself permission to be miserable. You know what I mean? Like, you give yourself permission to get in that ice bath
Yeah.
because you see value in the ice bath. And I think for a lot of people, like what you're describing on a small scale is being able to access a kind of perspective, a kind of existential wisdom that can only be conjured through intense discomfort or adversity.
Suffer and become.
Suffer and become. Now, I believe that deeply about the psychic confrontation with the darkness. I think that it is painful, just like going to the gym might be or an ice bath might be, but it enriches every other aspect of life. It deepens the experience of life in a way that makes you feel like you weren't living before. And you get to see a plane of reality that you can't access without dialing that frequency down. Woof, 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 woof. Like
Yeah.
something that's fascinating, like a lot of Genghis Khan, he had a tribe of shaman that traveled with him. They were called the Dark-Had shaman, and they were dark shaman. They would force themselves into despondent states of depression because they believed very deeply that it granted them access to a kind of insight and knowledge and wisdom that cannot be accessed outside of that place. So it's
Fascinating.
like it's there's stuff. There's another line I'm attached to on the new album that says uh oh, as I mine pain for its stones of insight. So like leaning into this ritualistic discomfort to extract its knowledge, what it has to tell you. Um, the music video that's going to, it's actually, the music video will have been out when this interview is released, or the last music video of the launch is a very special one. Adam and I actually did flesh suspension for this music
I
video.
saw some pictures of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we hung from our shoulders, from our backs, and that was really my way of course it's extreme, but for me, it was really important for the fans, not, and I don't want to get it misconstrued. It's not for the people that don't believe Vitriol. It's for the people that already believed Vitriol. And I want them to be like, I fucking knew it. You know what I mean? Like I knew these, like, because to me, I always wanted, growing up and loving this music, I always wanted someone that fucking meant it. You know what I mean? Like just really mean it. And I was like, well, how can you prove your love for something, you know? Stick hooks in your back and hang from the ceiling, you know? So, and that's a hell of an ice bath, man. You're riding a high for a week after that.
Oh, I bet. I bet. This is really interesting, actually. So, and it's good to know the context of that too. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, man. You know, and we are of the same mindset. You know, the way I always said it is this: pain is the currency for life. You know,
Yep.
you think of if you want to charge something, charge it with pain. This is why also when we did our music video, admittedly, it may not be anywhere near as painful as getting hooked, but it was you know, we did the flagellations, you know.
Someone called me and cut you off. Can you start back? You said when you were doing your music video.
Of course, yes. So when we did our music video, admittedly, it's not quite as hard as getting hooked. But the thing of it was that we did the flagellations with the chains, and we were out there in the middle of nowhere, topless, in the middle of the cold, just fucking beating ourselves up with chains to the beat of the song for, you know, for however long we did that for. And then one of our guys, he was bleeding out of his back just from the raw chains hitting it. And yeah, it's good. But then I said to them all, I said, listen, we're doing this to charge this video. We are doing this to serve a purpose, and that's beautiful, because when you say that about your video, I'm like, I already know. You're already preaching to the choir. I know exactly the thought process behind it, and of course, there's a aspect of displaying as well, you know, which kind of adds to it. But really, I fully get that. But I always say, you know, that onto the thing that pain is the currency for life. One of the things that I was thinking about a couple of years ago, when kind of just, you know, revising my whole philosophy of life and things, I thought, well, what's the most painful thing that a human being could ever physically experience? Childbirth.
Yeah.
And what's the result? It's life. It's literally life.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, there is no, it's just that's the thing. Life is not, this is why I tell everybody that I have a conversation with about how to move through life. I don't think life is complicated. It's just hard. So people make it complicated. The life is pretty simple. It's, do you want something enough to suffer for it? That's it. Like, that's the thing. If you're willing to frame pain in your life as a currency for power, and when I say power, I mean, in the purest sense, autonomy. You know, you're able to affect your environment, whether that be your own home or whatever.
Right. There
is no way around it. Just make it your friend, man. The more you make it your friend, that's the saddest part. Is, you know, the narrative forces that we should run away from that stuff, and not to keep going in circles, but that's the shame.
Thing is, absolutely, man. And the thing is that, you know, we are always seeking that comfort. We always want to feel comfortable. You know, like, to us, the ultimate image of life is to imagine, oh, somewhere on a beach, somewhere with a cocktail in your hand. And then that's the ultimate. And to me, that's a very uncomfortable thing. It's a very uncomfortable thought to even want to get into, because other than the dreamy vision of it, you know, whatever, all these nice hormones that might be attached to the thought or the image, I then think that, okay, come nighttime, and then that beach is it's a sea of horrors, and you're in danger, and you're, and it's too cold for you to lie down, and and that cocktail is, is gone, and it's just made you, it's dehydrated your brain, and you fucked up. But anyway, that's just me. But you know, the way I look at these things is that, the more you embrace pain, the more you embrace life. And I had a chat with a BBC reporter just a few days ago, and she was she was saying to me that she was going through some personal things, and then seeing what we did kind of was interesting to her, because we were very much delving deep into the darkness. Obviously, with Trivax, I'm talking.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said to her, I said, well, who the fuck said you were supposed to be happy? Like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah.
You think about how our ancestors were living. They were tormented by nature, tormented by circumstances, and they had no choice but to somehow learn to survive, suffer and become. And I said to her, you're not owed anything. Life is, I like to look at it as like contractual agreements. I like to look at everything in life as a business decision. I like to look at relationships as a business decision. That's very much the case, I think, because you're making a decision on how to spend your time. And if you make the wrong decision, or if you take too long making a decision, then shit's just gonna fall apart on you, and then you're gonna have to pay the price for it somehow, and you're gonna be in debt, if you want to take the example a bit further. But at the end of the day, it's not supposed to be fucking easy, but it's almost like the universe listens to you. You dream of something, you really want something, and we all have these wants and wishes. And then, as a result, the universe will put exactly a receipt in front of you, a series
Yeah.
of hardships, a series of things that you got to give up. And Silenos from Dimmu Borgir said it perfectly on the podcast when I had him on. He said that when you sacrifice something, you got to sacrifice something of value. You can't just get rid of something that you don't really care about. And I thought that's really powerful, because the universe does these deals with you. It's like, you give me this, and then I'll eventually give you the thing that you want. And then at the end, when it gives you the thing that you want, it gives it to you way better than you even imagined you could ever have it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's fascinating how that stuff works. If you can pick up on those patterns, you can actually get, in the same way that when you start going to the gym, it's usually hard. You don't want to go. It takes some will to get going.
I cried the first time I went.
Yeah. It was demoralizing for me, for sure. It took a long time. It took a couple of years before I really started enjoying going, building that cause and effect relationship. But I think the power of sacrifice in pursuit of one's goals, you develop a similar relationship, and it's almost kind of dangerous. I almost got addicted to sacrifice, because I felt like that was like just putting more coins in the piggy bank. But you can't just like mutilate yourself relentlessly. You got to pace, you can't just completely bleed out, so. But yeah, that's the more you're willing to give up, the more the universe is going to accept your offering.
Absolutely. And you can't do too much in too little of a time. You can't just constantly push. You have to constantly change gear, because life's a lot like the Saturnalian nature of the matrix that we live in is very much like a farm. Like, it's like growing your own crops. You can't be planting seeds year round. You can't be harvesting year round, and you can't be watering it year round. You need to have phases for those, and it's the same for going to the gym. You don't grow when you're in the gym. You go in there and train, come back home, eat, rest, and then you grow, and then you repeat. And then life, generally speaking, is like that. Just like you can't tour 365 days a year. And
that's a tough lesson. I imagine we're similar in this way, that for people like us that's a tough lesson for people like us to learn, because I think we always want to be attacking life, and resting well is really hard for me. It's the hardest thing. It's why I stay in burnout mode so often, because I don't know how to rest. I have a, I had a therapist back in the day. She was like, well, what do you do for rest? And I explained to her like a recreation day. She was like, that's not rest, dude.
Yeah, I understand
like,
that.
It's just striving towards something else. But we're problem solvers, man. I mean, we're our species, that's what we're designed for. Like you said, it wasn't that long ago that everyone in our family line was being tormented by nature, and in the throes, in a healthy fluctuation between creation and survival. And we're stuck in this like toxic creation bubble where we have all of these parents effectively that says, oh, we'll take care of all of your needs. You don't have to solve your problems. We'll solve all of your problems for you. You just go do this thing and you punch this card and you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Fine and good. That sounds great. Oh man, like turn in my autonomy to be a child for the rest of my life. That sounds awesome. I don't have to think about it. Problem is, you're hardwired to solve problems. And when someone comes along and takes your problems away from you, that sounds good on the front end, but your subconscious is going to be scrambling to find new problems to solve. So what happens? Now your problems are just shittier. Now your problems are just pettier. And now you're more neurotic. And now like the world is ugly because every little tiny fucking thing, because you don't have to worry about eating ever again. So everything is a tragedy. Everything is a da-da-da-da-da. It's this severe disconnection with adversity, genuine adversity, that makes people so fucking miserable. And that's going to be the toughest nut to crack, because it's so seemingly contradictory. Like, what do you mean we need more problems? You need better problems. And when you get a better problem, a little magic trick happens, and those things that you thought were problems now just become funny. Now you can just joke about them, and that makes life better. And then in the crucible of genuine adversity, camaraderie happens. Not this weird little kids pecking at each other, asking for mommy and daddy's approval into their 50s and 60s and 70s, because their lives are now a political identity, or their lives are, because they're not living their own fucking life.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho.
Listen, Kyle, you are legit one of my favorite guests to ever have on this podcast. It's been such a fucking blast talking to you, man.
Yeah, very much likewise. This is my favorite. You're my favorite person to talk to for interviews and stuff. So I'm always, I love what you're espousing out here. I love the knowledge and the perspectives that you're curating through this, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Oh, brother, the honor is mine. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, man. And I can't wait to actually meet you in person at some point as well. And it feels like we've been talking. Maybe even that. Yeah, I would love that. I would really, really, really love the opportunity for that to happen, and I'm sure we can make it happen. Certainly. I don't see why not. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. So, I'm sure the States would be stoked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Real knows real, as they say.
Yeah,
that's it. Awesome, brother. Well, so just as we wrap things up, I mean, what's the plan right now? Suffer and Become coming out. That's what, by the way, what I'm going to title this episode, because it couldn't even have a more appropriate title, even if we tried. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, man, that's coming out in a week, or it's out now, I guess. If whenever this is coming out. And yeah, we got a tour. We're hitting the States in May, I think, Chaos and Carnage tour, and then we're doing a headliner, and I'm hoping to make it to Europe before the end of the year. That's the hope. So
fuck yes. Well, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle, once again, brother, thank you so fucking much for joining us. It's been a blast as always. And to everyone listening to the podcast, We'll see you guys on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations. Hope you enjoyed this one just as much as I did. Bye-bye.